A warm welcome to all our participants. It's a lovely monsoon afternoon and we are all set to begin with another exciting session on connecting the dots. A very good afternoon to everyone present here today. This pandemic is completely redefining the way we communicate and work. It is revolutionizing the workspace. Quarantines, lockdown, and self-imposed isolations have pushed teams of millions of workforce around the world to work from home, accelerating a workplace experimenting that has to struggle to gain traction before COVID-19 hits. Now, well into the pandemic, now well into the now, well into the pandemic, the limitations and the benefits of remote work are clearer. Although many people are returning to the workplace as economic opens, the majority could not work remotely at all. Executives have indicated in surveys that hybrid model of remote work for some employees are here to stay. Join us in this exciting session and watch our experts share their valuable and insightful inputs on how to coordinate employees' efforts, how to ensure flawless cross-departmental collaboration, and how to maintain team productivity when employees are scattered across the globe with multiple time zones. HRAI welcomes you all to the session on connecting the dots, work from home, connect, communicate, and collaborate. To know more about HRAI and its event, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We'll be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all our participants to kindly give your feedback on this session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed panel members for today's webinar. Mr. Umesh Rateja, Executive Director, The Next Milestone Technologies Private Limited, and Honorary Treasurer and Director, Geisha. He comes with over 16 plus years of experience as an accomplished HR transformation leader. He also is a business collaborator, providing larger solutions and delivers differentiated business results from talent acquisition to management and on the coaching them to align their individual goals to larger interest. Through coaching, he looks to inspire people, give them a motive, a reason for self-betterment, and empower them to follow their path. Help people identify their potential, fire their imagination, and get them to take action, hire the right attitude, and train the skills. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The details for the same are mentioned in the chat window. Our next panel member, Mr. Charles Goodwin, HR leader, Zoho Corporation. An astute human resource professional with 16 years in-depth experience in the entire gamut of people, program, and progressive from renowned IT industries. Extensive exposure to manage change during acquisition and merger, building capabilities and talent during high growth phase, ensuring apt HR interventions. He comes with specialization into talent acquisition and retention, talent management, talent engagement, talent development, employee relationship, OD interventions, compensation management, performance management, administrative of policies, programs and practices, employee disciplines, employee welfare, and branding. He's a prominent speaker in event and industry forums and has delivered over 1,500 guest lectures, speaking to young minds. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Our next panel member, Mr. Vikas Sheth, Country Head, India, Milestone Inc. Vikas is a marketing technology enthusiastic and an entrepreneurial mindset. Currently, he is working as a Country Head, India at Milestone Inc. He has more than 14 years of experience in building real-time data analytics and omni-channel consumer experience solutions for Fortune 500 clients in FMCG, hospitality, automotive, banking, electronics, and telecom sector. Vikas has an all-round P&L general management experience in leading multicultural global teams. He holds an MBA with a major in business strategy and marketing from IE Business School, Spain, along with BTech in computer science from Nirma Institute of Technology, India. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat. Now I'll introduce our panel moderator for today's session, Ms. Shikha Gupta, Head of Talent Acquisition, Winwire Technologies, Inc. Shikha Gupta, an HR professional with 17 years of work experience across the gamut of HR functions in the IT sector, an ex-Wiproite and currently associated with Winwire Technologies Inc. Bangalore, heading talent acquisition globally. Currently serving as WICCI President, Karnataka Human Resource Council, also associated with education institution and MBA college as a speaker, mentor, and coach, part of a few NGOs as well running their CSR initiatives. She is a global trotter and she likes to network with individuals. You can follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without taking much time, I now hand over the platform to Ms. Shikha.
Thank you, Peterson, for this warm welcome and lovely introductions of everyone, our esteemed guests. Good afternoon to one and all. Welcome you to this session by HRAI. Interestingly, the topic is the most sought after topic these days, right? Work from home. March 2020 till August 2021. 17, 18 months, everyone has been working from home, right? Far too stretched, far too long. Now, let's understand from our esteemed speakers as to what are their thoughts. So probably, maybe, Vikas, my first question to you, while we know that the entire organization is working from home, according to you, what would be those best tried and tested methods of regularly and effectively connecting, communicating, and collaborating organization-wide?
Sure. Thank you, Shikha.
Shed some light on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shikha, for launching the entire discussion. And I completely agree with you. It's a very, very sought after topic right now. And almost every company, be it Google or Microsoft of the world, or any small company, is pondering long-term impact of work from home, or even long-term strategy for work from home. What is the right way to go about it? Again, best or tested and proven ways would be difficult to say because it's only 17 months into the whole ecosystem. But from my perspective, what has worked is clearly segregating two different aspects when it comes to running an organization. At the end of the day, we all run a profit-making organization. So there are two different distinct aspects which clearly help us create a structure specifically for all the HR fraternity to ensure that we get maximum benefits or output from the employees, and at the same time they are maximum happy working with the organization as well. So what we have done is we have come up with a sort of a revised or a revamped operational excellence metrics in terms of how do we communicate, collaborate while we are working. And at the same time, we have revamped our employee engagement metrics, the way we used to do a lot of engagement activities, leadership training, and a lot of other training activities which we used to do from the HR perspective. So we had to revamp completely. To be very honest, I would say it was a lot of struggle and discovery along the way. We did not have all the blueprint in our head that, hey, this is how it works, because we were also discovering. And again, before going into details, this whole discovery was very challenging because a lot of people had internet connectivity issues. Even though we are privileged to be in an IT industry, and I do say that we are privileged because not all the companies have a privilege of working from home. We were privileged enough to have that, but right from having sort of challenges of internet connectivity, or having the right desk at home, or having the right space at home to work without any distractions, were just a small set of challenges that we came across. So coming back to the original question, I think from my perspective, there are two separate methods or sort of methodologies that we employed. One was operational excellence. And for us, although we were having all of this in practice, but we never really put into hardcore, I would say, a Bible that we must follow on a regular basis. So operational excellence started from as small thing as having a daily sync up or daily stand up meeting of 10 minutes, wherein everyone literally stands up in front of the camera, keeping the camera on, and not really having people just in front of a blank screen or a blank audio, and literally understanding what is happening in the team at an individual team level, to really having regular, and we've literally increased our town hall number of town halls that we do from, say, earlier once a quarter to now we do at least three times a quarter. So there is a continuous flow, continuous engagement of right from what is happening in our sales department, that what kind of customers we are approaching, what kind of needs are they having, the whole journey of digital transformation that is going through or that is being accelerated at different layers in the economy, in the industry. I think we have really improved the flow of communication right from our sales department to literally everyone who is sitting on the floor and working and developing a code or delivering a piece of service. So I think for us, that operational excellence aspect of daily meetings, weekly meetings, and even having a specific format of how those meetings would be conducted, how long would that be conducted, to avoid sort of a Zoom sort of tiredness, right? So I think that setting up that expectation and setting up the timelines of what to do when really helped us significantly. Work from home doesn't mean work from or work for 24/7. So again, setting up that expectation for all the managers, all the leaders really helped us very well to improve the productivity and improve work-life balance part of it, which again you are covering somewhere along the session. And the second part was the engagement, and we literally had to revamp what we mean by engagement. It no longer meant that we just do a party or we just do a fun activity and that is engagement. Again, engagement had to be rethought. Earlier, we used to have a lot of group level engagements with 30, 40, 50 employees, and a lot of engagement activities used to happen. But we had to rethink that completely. It is practically not possible to do engagement with 50 people on the Zoom call, right? So we literally had to do smaller engagements with 3 or 5 people, and literally have, we have increased our connects with employees by at least 3 to 4 times with individual and small group connects. On multiple aspects, to really understand overall health and mental well-being of an employee, of how they are doing, and B, how or what help they need in terms of getting trained with new technologies coming up, with new trends emerging in the market, or even by adding new employees which did not have I would say flexibility of meeting people in person and getting trained by having someone just nearby sitting to you and learning or asking hundreds and tons of questions whenever you are joining new in the organization. So we literally had to rethink our entire engagement metrics, the way we used to monitor what HR teams will do. All of that we had to revamp at a individual, at a small team, and then at a group level. So all of those activities changed for us completely. And for us, I think that gave us a lot better results instead of just doing, say, a call with 50 or 100 people or 200 people in one Zoom call. So engagements became much more micro in the organization, and that gave us fantastic results.
So well thought through and so well put, Vikas. I think all of us in all organizations have actually gone through a sea change, right? What was happening in person, everything has moved online. And we are also testing the effectiveness of, like you very rightly said, large group calls, right, are not as effective as, those small group calls, those huddle meetings that you try and do with smaller teams. Very well thought through. I would want to understand from Charles, what kind of changes has he seen in the last couple of months, more than a couple of months? Yeah.
So thank you, Shikha. And to start with, when we heard about our work from home announcement from the Prime Minister, before even the announcement, almost 21 days before, our CEO, our company CEO, announced work from home for everyone. and being proactive in terms of sending our employees to home. And within a couple of next few days, he said, now go back to your respective hometown, settle down, vacate your apartment, and so on. And people, went to their respective hometown, settled down, got the proper internet connection, settled down, set up a proper home office, and things were smooth. And they were able to really plan well, and we were able to really help our employees to, go through this particular, transition. And number two, if you look at, from, the connect, the communication and collaboration, especially in IT sector, I think, we are really blessed because just through, technology, just through, the technology, we were able to connect and things were smooth. We were able to continue because even before our COVID, we were able to have all the flexibility. And I think the key point which I would like to highlight, whether it is pre-COVID or post-COVID, trust factor, where between an employee, the organization, or between the team and the employee. And that's the key factor which we believe, and COVID, that is what COVID has taught us. And now being responsible for our own self when nobody's, I don't have a CCTV camera at home, but still, how, I take care of myself, I am responsible for. And I think it should be, part of the organization culture. And on the other side, I feel, every manager plays a very, very important role in handling human relations. I think that's the key element which helped our organization, or many organizations, I would say, to handle this particular season, to connect with the team, to communicate and collaborate. And I'd like to give one example. We have seen people who were silent for so many years have been communicating very well, especially during this virtual season. Right? To give an example, maybe when we talk about engagement, it's not just fun, and it's not about having regular meets like town hall or skip meeting, team meetings, and so on. Engagement, even trying to understand whether people are connected with the team in some or the other way. Maybe having different platform for them, to share their thoughts. Could be fun, could be sports, could be politics, or could be anything, or it could be technology, or it could be science, and so on. So we need to have a proper system in place. A community where people can participate, share, and collaborate with the team, so that even during this virtual season, people our employees are well connected. Now having a platform to really connect, collaborate, beyond their regular routine, and that's the key which I feel I have learned, especially during this season.
Such wonderful thoughts, Charles. I think the trust factor that you brought in is so very important, right? It's the basic ethos of any organization. Reporting, manager, team member, trusting each other. That's so wonderful. Secondly, you highlighted that the role of the manager, right? The reach, the fact that he's trying to build that connect, engage, motivate people plays such a big role, especially in this remote working era. Thank you for that. Coming to Umesh, right? What are your thoughts on this subject? How have you dealt with this situation?
I think a lot of it has been covered by Charles and Vikas. What we realized in the early days, since we've spent fair amount of our time and careers in capability development, we realized one of the biggest challenges which we are going to be facing is that our managers, our supervisors are not prepared. They don't really know how to manage large virtual teams, because work from home as a concept was more of a privilege given to people. Okay, from there suddenly we were changing the contours of the game, and we expected our managers to manage their teams and effectively ensure that the productivity doesn't dip. So hence we started spending fair amount of our time on developing and training our managers as well as employees, because employees also needed to be coached in terms of how is it that they can really make sure that their own deliverables don't suffer, and they need to align themselves and quickly get acclimatized to the fact that they'll not be working from office. They can't just walk across to to their colleague or to their supervisor, asking, saying that, hey, I have a problem, I need help. And hence we realized that early, and we started working on some of those things in addition to what Vikas and Charles have said.
Lovely, Umesh. Another thing, it's not only coaching the managers as to how to connect with people, how to bond, how to motivate. I think we've coached our managers to run every process online, right? Say hiring has become virtual, engagement has become virtual, learning and development has become virtual. So managers in any organization have gone through a real transformation from in person to doing stuff online. Oh, I'm loving this discussion. Now, Charles spoke about trust. Now, that's tickling my brain and brings me to the next question. It's about empathy, Charles. How do you think, while we are functioning, and I don't know, I think we'll continue to work from home for another 6-8 months. How do you think we can incorporate empathetic thinking, right, or perspective while we communicate with our employees, especially during these VUCA times, or crisis or difficult situations? So, what would be your take on that?
Yeah. So since I closely work, my major focus is with the young crowd, students who join our organization right from the age of 17, 17, 18, and so on. Our population is very, very young. And I'd like to quote one example. Maybe so many years back, I was in an airport on a Saturday evening along with a few other friends. And one fine day, one of a friend, I would say, our friend, he was calling, he was, during the waiting time, he was opening the laptop, talking to a few of his employees, saying that, Monday you come, hand over your laptop ID card, and, Monday will be your last working day. Kind of more of like, sending people out. And, when I came back, during the travel, I was so disturbed. And, when I look at, after a few years, I had a similar situation to handle. This happened so many years back. And I had a long list of people whom we need to take care and leaving, relieving from the organization because of the industry situation. And initial time, it was a very tough time to handle, and especially to respond to our business leaders in terms of giving a clear time frame in completing that exercise. And the same night, I discussed with a few other leaders, and we were able to I was able to work with the team and bring out some model in terms of handling, giving enough time, even sharing the bad news in a very positive way, meaning giving enough time, talking to them, making them understand about the situation and so on. And then, in that particular list, we were able to really retain about 30% of people in the same organization. And I think, one life lesson, which I have learned, even if we are communicating bad news, we have to really take care well in terms of handling, in terms of fighting with the business team or with the management to really handle people with care. I think the human element, it is part of our role. It is definitely part of our role. We need to handle. HR is, not about handling people. It's more of handling emotions. Right? Each person will respond, and so empathy has to be part of our system, and especially whether it is COVID or pre-COVID, how do we take care? Number two, the other part, one thing I really loved during the season is like getting very positive note from the leadership team to our employees, right from CEO, right from the top leadership team, saying that we are together. Proactively saying that we are taking care, giving enough opportunity to the best possible way. And I can maybe I can quote many examples. I would like to quote one simple example and conclude. It depends. As Vikas rightly said earlier, every organization is not an NGO to really be so nice to people and taking care even during the tough time. It's more of how we handle things even during the tough time, and especially how do we communicate. For example, a small organization can really play a very, very important role in handling and giving some enough time, or giving some strategy in terms of giving 3 months or 2 months and so on. So it's more of what is our organization's strength and see how best we can leverage that for our people. So that's the key element. Now, right from the HR manager or the respective line managers, the entire communication has to be dealt with empathy. And employees should really believe that and should have the feel of, yes, HR is handling people with care.
Great thoughts, Charles. You reminded me of a quote. I don't remember who the author is, and somebody said, what you say, how you say is more important than what you say, right? So the how is more important, absolutely. And another thing that you reminded me of was, if you take care of your people, right, your people will take care of your organization. I was once told by a great HR leader when I was in the beginning years of my career, saying that, Shikha, two things define whether the person will join you back or not join you back: the way you onboard him, right, and the way he exits from the organization. These two experiences, if they are beautiful, the person will always be willing to come back to you and work with you again. Yeah. Thank you for reviving such great thoughts and memories. Vikas,
sorry. I just wanted to add, it's extremely important that we understand whenever we are breaking the sad news of letting someone go, that one, it has to be done extremely gracefully. And in times like this, it is not the competence of an individual due to which we're letting the person go, it's the situation. And second, we need to understand that we need, when we are empathizing with people, we need to understand that each individual has his own individual way of dealing with stress. We all don't deal with stress the same way. And hence, I think another point which many organizations did, which I saw, and we also tried to do in our own little way, is we created, platforms where we had counselors, where people could speak to them, not only from unfortunate instance of letting people go, but also from the stress, because people were under so much of pressure, not knowing that whether it's going to be me in the next round. Is baar mein bach gaya, agli baar am I the one whose head may be on the block? So in that situation, and also helping them overcome the stress of working from home, pressures, sad situations at home, health, grieving, somebody's demise in the family. I think empathy, the definition of empathy really stretched in these times, not only from a smaller situation or a myopic view of having someone being asked to go, to a larger situation of what an individual was really going through in his personal life, not just professional life. Yeah.
I so echo these thoughts, Sumesh. Wonderful conversation. See, things like stress, depression, anxiety, mental well-being, right, were not a part of Indian society as much as they have become today because of COVID, right? The fact that we as individuals or HR leaders or business leaders acknowledge that somebody is suffering from depression or stress and needs help. I think we're moving towards an era where we are willing to support, we are willing to listen, we are willing to help, right? Which wasn't there, I think, pre-COVID. Not as much, but now, yes. It's good to see organizations evolving in that direction.
See, I remember about 8 years back, early, 2012, if I recall correctly, we tried to have a counselor at our workplace. And there were a lot of questions being asked. Why do you need a counselor? And then the second part, once people agreed, the second part came, how many people will actually go? Because they don't want to be seen going to a counselor, And suddenly I was remembering that from those days of 8-9 years back to now, people were so happy when we created those platforms, not only for our own organization, for some of our clients, when we suggested them these things. They were extremely happy, and there were people in their own sweet way have given feedback saying we are thankful that the organization is actually thinking on those lines. So there is a significant change and people have moved. notches in terms of well-being being accepted as a norm and not as a fancy thing to be provided.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember, all these counseling services or helpline numbers used to be anonymous, right? Because I don't want my friends and peers to know, okay, Shikha is consulting a counselor. She needs help. She's mentally imbalanced or unwell or stuff like that, right? Yeah, so very well put. Let's hear from Vikas. What's
So I
your
think
view on this?
Charles and Umesh has covered the communication aspect of it really well. Let me add one more perspective. So when we talk about empathy, we also have to understand what kind of empathy do they need or what kind of help do they need. And when we were suddenly hit as India as a country with COVID, the very first thing they needed was how can we help them getting a hospital bed? How do we help them getting an oxygen concentrator or even getting the help of a doctor? So I think understanding that really what is needed at the right time, and we as an organization could not say some manage things like what a large organization like TCS or Infosys or even probably Zoho could do, wherein they could have their own hospitals, right? So again, we had to come up with very innovative ways wherein we created a group of employees who became sort of influencers in terms of providing help, right? Before this, we never had WhatsApp groups at an organization level, but now we do. So anyone who needed help, we just used to post a message over there and all other people will come in and start helping them. So for us, those kind of small gestures really helped us create empathy in the overall ecosystem more than anything else. More than communication or more than any other aspect, those small gestures of we tying up with, say, a e-commerce platform who provides doctors within 2 minutes at any point of time, 24/7. We tying up with a yoga studio who gives us online yoga classes on a daily basis to all our employees. Those kind of small actions really helped us create an empathetic environment within the organization. So I think those kind of small gestures helped us create a better environment. And you won't believe, even though right now there is sort of a gold rush in the IT industry in terms of talent acquisition and retention, this is the time when our employee retention is highest. So for us, those small things really helped and took us in a very right direction. And again, at times we even changed our HR policies wherever there was a conflict with the new way of working. We had to change all of that, and all it took us was listen to employees at what they wanted and how we could have find the right solution for them. So I think those things really helped us in terms of empathy. Apart from absolutely rightly said, how to communicate more than what to communicate.
Collaboration at the heart of business. It started at its own.
I know. So wonderful, Vikas. These small little deeds of kindness actually go a long way. I've heard a lot of organizations, right, sponsoring oximeters, covering the hospital cost, sponsoring a lot of other stuff, right, which gave the employees that confidence, like Charles rightly said, we are in it together. Whatever support, small task forces that were created, like your organization did, right, in terms of, those crack teams who has hospital contacts, who has, all the infrastructure related stuff. So yes, I think we're moving in the right direction and we shall overcome all of this. Yeah. Now, another thing that comes to my mind with this remote working, and maybe I should ask Umesh as a business leader, new talent assimilation. For a lot of HR folks, it's quite a challenge. Trust me, right? Because it's hiring is remote. This person goes through some 3-4, video call interviews, HR discussion who happens over a video, you onboard on a video, right? All of that is just virtual, right? So how do you think, organizations can overcome this challenge of assimilating new joiners better in the system? They're not connected. They're not so well connected. They don't know our culture. They haven't experienced that. Any thoughts around that?
Very nice question. Because We find more and more managers over the last 17 months have accepted the fact that they'll not really be able to meet a candidate in person. Typically it used to be, let's do a virtual meeting, couple of them, and then at least call them for the final round. Or if nothing else, let HR do the final round of, meeting him. And so I think that's a history now. And the good part is that suddenly the marketplace for attracting talent has opened up. You're no more confined to the geographical constraints of a city or a multiple city. It's not even a country. So I think that's the good part. Distributed workforce is going to be here, and we have to accept it. The sooner we do it, the better it is. And people who are not able to do it are learning the hard way. Because I keep telling a lot of my clients when we are in the consulting space, we tell them that, see, you're getting business in the IT space from someone who's sitting, miles and miles away, thousands of miles away from you, and you're delivering it so exceptionally, flawlessly, remotely. Why do you think you can't manage your teams remotely? So that's the analogy which I keep sharing. I think two things or three things which are very, very important for attracting talent is people need to understand, and organizations of different size need to understand that social media is one of the most strongest influences and communicating channels which you have to make sure that the good things which you're doing about your organization go out. Second, attracting ho gaya, recruitment ho gaya. I think the important part is the onboarding part. How do you really onboard a guy or a girl into your business, and how do you make sure that you take care of the entire process in such a way that you are able to excite him the way you would be able to do it in a normal way, in a physical way. And I think their technology plays a critical role. One, as organizations, we need to invest in technology, which enables us having tools to ensure that there is a pre-onboarding and an onboarding process which continues. Not only when I say pre-onboarding, what I'm saying here is today there's so much of shortage of talent, and hence the moment you give an offer to someone, there has to be a very strong engagement with the talent, which continues till the time you're going to be onboarding that individual. In that process, there are multiple levels of, depending upon the role, depending upon the level at which you're hiring, the engagements can be devised. And once you get a person on board, I think that's where the moment of truth really starts happening. And it's no more that you have a single joining day where you can have a group lunch or a group orientation on the day the person joins. I think that really doesn't work. What works now is the moment you have a person coming in, you create a pre-joining checklist, and based on that checklist, you start doing the activities. And there is a one-on-one contact with that person. It's not that he's writing mails. Someone has to pick up the phone and talk, and that's what we realized works the best. Getting onto video conversations with him or her, that really helps. Once the individual has come on track, there has to be communication with the manager as early as possible, so that you are able to align the individual with the manager, so that he knows that what are his or her deliverables. Very clearly, the individual needs to be communicated on what are the collaboration tools which the organization uses, what are the kind of processes and policies which we have. So enabling the employee to really get set for success is extremely important. There has to be a regular communication with these new joinees to ensure that they get imbibed into the culture of the organization. They have to be aligned to the vision, mission, values of the organization. And this doesn't just happen in a one meeting. This has to be done over a consistent communication, which has to happen with them. Once you've been able to do that, there has to be clearly a 90-day plan drawn out, what we call it as the first 90 days for an individual, in which you actually say what are the touch points in the first 90 days where individual will really connect with this, with the organizations. There has to be HR routine discussions. If in a normal circumstances, HR was meeting a new joinee once in a fortnight, then probably this has to be once in a week. If in normal circumstances, a manager reviews his new joinee once in a month, then this has to be once a week. The more you communicate, the better it is. And that is how you will actually help the new joinee get imbibed into their organization culture as early as possible. And you're actually helping him set up for success. So the paperwork has to be something which has to happen at the earliest, get over with. And at the first opportune moment, make sure you're able to invite this new joinee to the office. It's important while we are doing everything virtually. It's important you get the individual to the office and have an in-person meeting. The sooner you are able to do that, the individual starts realizing whatever we've been speaking about is actually reality. So I think that's something extremely important. While people are rushing for talent across, it's worthwhile to invite them, depending upon the roles which people are going to be. It's very important to invite them at the earliest moment to the office and have a meeting. I think these are some of the things, while we've seen that organizations have benefited, we have benefited ourselves by doing some of those things. And trust me, over communication doesn't kill anyone. There has to be constant and high number of communications, like Charles was mentioning and Vikas mentioned about the town halls, which are once in a quarter to thrice in a quarter. Maybe with the new joinees, we need to have a little overdose of communication just to make sure that they understand the organization and they understand the culture that we are really talking about. Because remotely, we can only tell them. It's like, you're telling a blind man how beautiful it is outside. The world is so beautiful. He has to go and feel it. He can't really see it. So till such time we really don't get him into the office to see it, it's only a mystery. It's just a story for him or her. So that's the way I would really talk about onboarding the way it has happened with us and how it's helped us.
Yeah, beautifully summed up, Umesh. I was thinking of that little anecdote, right? This patient in the hospital looking outside the window, right? And telling him, how the garden looks to the fellow patient who's a blind person.
Right.
And the person was looking at the wall, not at a garden. It's all about giving hope, concern, love, attention. I think you brilliantly summed it up saying, enable, connect, communicate. That's how we can assimilate the new joiners. Charles, any thoughts from your side after all that Vikas had to say in terms of inputs?
Yeah, just to add, Umesh, and especially during this time, especially onboarding, people get to know about the organization. Maybe if they are not able to make it up for office, for example, I'm from a small town like Salem, and now if I have any of my employees there, team members, in that particular city, we try to connect them. Number one. So that's one of the best way where employees will, especially newcomers, will feel comfortable meeting somebody, if not physically in office. Yeah, the typical office which we have. Number two, to be very specific about Zoho. Earlier before COVID, we had 3 centers in India. One in the outer part of Chennai, one in Tenkasi, the southern part of Tamil Nadu, and third is Renigunda. And during this COVID time, we have started hub offices, small hub offices across the state. And today, people are able to go to hub offices, connect the people with a small bunch of people, about 20 or 40, and so on. They get to know, and connect with them, if not daily, at least weekly once, and so on. So these are some of the additional facilities where this will help enable our newcomers to settle down smoothly without having any gap.
Yeah, actually, well put. I think these small little group meetings, huddle meetings, whenever possible, I think will make a lot of difference. And like Umesh said, right, that one look, that one feel of the office, that one meeting of a person, meeting somebody from the office makes a lot of difference. Yeah, thank you for that. Vikas, anything you would like to add on this?
I think, again, Umesh and Charles have covered almost everything. I think one technique which has worked for us a lot is we start onboarding right after rolling the offer, not when the employee joins. So really having continuous connect with an employee, getting them into the zone of who you are as an organization, what is your culture, what kind of work we do, or what kind of impact we as a company create. Sharing those small tidbits on a regular basis has helped us onboard people very fast. Of course, it definitely improves your much bigger headache. I'm sure you as a talent leader understand dropout ratio. So those kind of things have also helped us significantly over there in terms of sharing our core values. How do we work as an organization? So I think those small tactical aspects of onboarding, or rather doing it or calling it pre-onboarding, helped us a lot during this sort of a rush of IT talent in the current environment. So that would be one small addition I would probably do. Also looking at the time, I think that will help in a very precise conclusion.
Sure, because I think I have a lot to talk, but we're really running short of time. So I will pick one of the most sought after questions that, a lot of people ask in different forums. And this is a beautiful term called work-life balance, right? Working from home has led to long working hours. And I think the women are more stressed because they have a little more to manage on the family side, kids, home, etc., etc. So any one of you whoever would want to tell us some tips and tricks how to manage work-life balance, how to take that me time out, right, for myself, right, without getting burnt out, stressed out, and also deliver 100% as per our office KRAs and KPIs. Anyone, Charles, Umesh, who would want to share some thoughts?
Yeah, I'll take that. I think the lines have totally blurred. Okay. Yeah. There is no personal time. There is no work time. It's all gone extremely fuzzy now. And I think the ladies, especially, since they have larger commitments of towards the family also, I think it's really taking a toll on them. Having said that, I'll say that very recently I was going through one of the studies which said about 47% of the women don't want to come back to office. Okay, it's only about 53% which were keen, saying that okay, in some way or the other we would want to come back, but 47% were very clear that we like this work from home. It gives us fair amount of flexibility to work. But I think things which have really helped, at least I saw that in my family, between me and my wife, while she's a homemaker, she was under more stress that everyone's going to be at home. I'm going to be working from home, the son is going to do his college from home, daughter's going to do, she said, where is my me time? All of you are going to be around. So what we devised responsibilities, and we started sharing a lot of work, especially in the early days when there was no help available and everything we were expected to do on our own. I think that really helped. The second thing which really helped was deciding that this is the time when I log off and this is the time when I log in. I think that really helped, because otherwise we are so seamlessly connected with our devices. It's actually 24/7 that we realized we were working. And I think that really helped. And other than that, hats off to the ladies within our office framework. When we used to talk to them, we were very clear in terms of communicating with our managers and telling, okay, let's define a common time. And we say, okay, this is a common time, let's say between 11 to 4 is the time when everyone is going to be available, so that no meetings happen other than that time, because we were working on India time, large part of our team. It helped us. So I think it's very important to define those timelines which really help everyone. Charles, your experiences. I think in the
Yeah,
paucity of time,
sorry,
we'll have
Mish.
to.
Yeah,
Go
just to
ahead,
add
Charles.
one. Yeah, just to add one in the recent times. Now, very beautiful thing which I really admired. Now, organization giving real flexibility for everyone. For example, for example, Monday to Friday is my working week. Saturday, Sunday, I have an off. Me as a person, I can split and balance the entire week however I want to frame myself. For example, per day, instead of working for 8 hours, I can work for 6 hours and split and additionally work on a Saturday. All right. So it's more of flexibility and ownership where every employee can grab within the facility opportunity within the framework of their respective team and so on. So that's really interesting and exciting for everyone. And now to balance personal, family, and life here.
I like that thought. And I think flexibility is what keeps us going, right? Because anything to add to this?
Again, we are at a very key juncture of the entire discussion, but I think one thing I would just say is share the load with your better half. I think that will do more wonders than anything else. At least in my case, my better half is working and it's really challenging. I completely agree with Umesh that there is a much bigger onus or responsibility of managing the home as well. And all you can do is share the load and everything else, I think, gets into that sort of one sentence or one word. And apart from that, I think I completely agree with Charles that we now no longer have working hours, 9 to 7 or whatever that 9 to 6 philosophy. And it's completely flexible. Everyone has within their team or ecosystem their own goals, and they are free to manage their work as per their wish. I've seen even some people in my team who work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and there are some people who work at 12 o'clock at midnight, and that is completely fine. And they are super happy, and so are we, because they're able to produce. They're able to have much better productivity than before, right? We have cut down our commute time. Specifically, if you're in Bangalore, you would be able to understand what I mean by that, right? So I think those advantages have come in as well, against the disadvantages. So absolutely, I think that is one big relief for us as an organization that we have given to all our employees.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of
I
you.
think while we may have a lot of challenges of work from home or work from anywhere, the collateral benefits are far more higher.
Absolutely. I think all three of you called out two things very beautifully. One is we are in it together. Second is share the load, right? So that the journey ahead becomes easier for all of us. Great. I am loving this discussion. Peterson, you should give us more time to discuss those things. Yeah.
Yes. So before we take up more further questions, we'll be running a poll to capture the feedback of all our participants. So would request all our participants to kindly share your feedback on our today's session. And while you all are doing so, would request you all to post your questions pertaining to our panel would be happy to respond to them.